All right. Augustina, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really, truly appreciate it.
No, thank you.
It's a beautiful film. It is really well put together, with some stunning visuals and a wonderful story. I was wondering where the idea for the film came from.
Thank you. The the concept of the film came from this idea of reinforcing this teenage girl's sexual awakening, and how that shifts the way she exists in the world. But the imagery about it comes more from a lot of dreams and dream-like things, dreamy situations. Yeah, like very abstract ideas that I have been having.
Yeah, the visuals, as I was saying, they're gorgeous. Not just the locations, but the way you shoot them. They're almost as like a gothic horror look to the jungle, which I've never seen before. I was wondering what your inspiration was, and what you were trying to do with the scene that Emilia's life is set in.
Yeah. Well, I've always been very gothic myself, and like when I was 13, I was like super dark, had like this black eyeliner and all the spikes, and like hate the world, and listen to the most alternative music and so on. So I've always had that truly in me, that darkness in the filter of the eye. The way this film started to be, well, prior to this I did Monster God, my last short film that has a very strong goth thing to it. But this movie was it sort of started happening by itself, because I started realizing that I had the gaze, I had the filter in the eye, and I was bringing it to the jungle. So it started organically developing that way. And of course the Gregorian organs in the soundtrack of the church help, and there a lot of elements started coming up with this. But yeah.
It really is something to see. It's beautiful. I was wondering about the character of Emilia. For you, this in some ways feels like a very personal film. I was wondering how you connected with her.
Yeah. I feel that with the actress or with the character?
With the actress or the character. I mean, a character as you wrote it, but also the actress as well.
Well, with the character, I think that it is definitely a part of something that was, at least for me, a certain moment in life where everything felt hostile and the outside world seemed like something very, very different from oneself, and that constant threat that feels that it's all the time surrounding you. That I think that's something, I don't know if it happens to everyone. I mean, I have been a fan of horror movies since I was literally 9 years old. So I've always felt that there was a lot of horror around us, but now I'm at peace with it. But so I think that a lot of what happens to this main character translates into that specific moment in which you're not a child and you're not an adult, and you don't have enough tools in your toolbox to deal with the world, but at the same time you have enough smarts to realize that things, and so you're just there like this teenager bubble, like going through these situations. And I think that was the main thing that I connected with her about it. And of course also the coming out and coming of age kind of thing.
She does a wonderful job, and the character is very, very well formed and developed. I was wondering the idea of the beast.
Yeah.
In finding out, to you, what you feel the beast truly is within the film. I mean, here is we hear the echoes and the some images, but so much of the film, it's almost like this effusive ghost.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, the many different people have made very different interpretations of what the beast is, and I like them all. I really like and liked that this movie was a kind of movie that makes questions instead of a movie that gives answers. But because I think that there are certain answers that they don't exist, and I think that it's okay to live with uncertainty and to choose questions as an answer. And so in that sense, I liked that it was like that the beast could be many different things, and it would rely on the eye of the beholder. But the beast was originally, I invented the myth of the beast. This is an invented myth, but it's relying on that there are many beasts, many myths in the north of Argentina, in that folkloric zone that are specifically about like this mythological creature that like grabs women or rapes them or gets them pregnant if they don't behave, or things like that, that were just actually made to justify like rapes or being like, hey, if you don't eat your food, like I don't know what is going to come and grab you. And so in that sense, that's where the idea of making the beast comes from, of this indoctrination, I don't know if that's the word, of these girls. And so in that sense, and because of everything that happens with the brother, and that she's seeking for this beast, there is this somehow like there's like the oppression or the male presence or the patriarchy that's reappearing in the beast as the beast gets closer to her and looks at her in the eye. And at the same time, there have been people that have been interpreting, mostly queer people, that have been interpreting more the side of the guilt she might be having by delivering herself to this gay desire, and how this beast, it might be even her, like this guilt of the outside world looking at her, and how, but either way both make sense and are killed. Should I say that? Are killed.
So what you're saying is it's definitely like a tiger. No, I'm kidding. I was joking.
Tiger.
There's one interpretation, and that's the only way to view it, is what I'm hearing.
Life is one, only one answer.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I understand that that's what you're. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding. Yeah, I could see that. And one of the things I thought was so interesting about the film is the idea of, like, you talk about, you mentioned this idea of oppression and control. And it comes from different places in different ways, whether it's from culture, from the church, from men throughout the film. Yeah. Actually, you know, one of the scenes, I think this actually was my favorite scene in the film. Maybe I'll ask you about this first. It's when Emilia and her friend are dancing to Ave Maria. I love that scene, and I was wondering what was the inspiration for that, and what sort of you were trying to get across.
Yeah. Well, the idea was that the aunt was very irreverent. Like she didn't care about anything that was happening outside. She was like, everyone here is an asshole. I'm going to stand for myself and I'm going to live my truth. And so in that sense, I really wanted the aunt to be like, hey, you know what? Outside is the chaos. Let's fucking dance. Let's enjoy this life. And the idea of it being particularly Ave Maria was as if it was a way of her aunt telling her, like, in a very politically incorrect sentence, like, fuck the church. Like, because it's this like electronical version of Ave Maria, and she's like, and drinking a whiskey. And so it was, for me, it was this way of the aunt being like, yeah, okay, but also it's not the only way to live this. And for me, it felt like a moment in which she doesn't necessarily do anything about that in that moment, but for me, it feels like there is a thing that drops, an information that drops for her and her, what's happening with her.
Yeah, it was such a unique thing, and the song was great, but
Yeah,
but I love that mix, because you get that sense of there's actually this moment of freedom at the hands of oppression, but taking that song made it so different in so many ways. I thought it was such a unique choice. But having said that, and I, as we start to wind down, I was wondering, what do you think it means to be truly free?
Ooh. I think
she disappears into the there's something on the floor.
Oh, someone's calling me. I think I don't yet truly understand if there is such a thing as absolute freedom. I guess it might exist once we die, or if we are spiritual beings that meditate or things like that, maybe we can find some place of that freedom. I guess that for me, freedom is just being at absolute peace and having the space and the field to explore the world and yourself without any kind of sense. But at the same time, what's the limit of that, right? Because there are people that with that freedom do gross things, and so that's it's a very big thing. But I believe that we're all gonna die anyway, and just to live your best truth, try not to hurt anyone, and exploit the most out of your potential, because soon we're gonna die and nothing matters. So the closest you can get to that, for me, that would be something like freedom.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Augustina. Honestly, it's just a beautiful film. I really appreciate the chance to chat with you. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, and I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Makes me very happy.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure you'll hear it a lot over the festival. So thank you so much.
Okay, that's awesome. Bye. Nice to meet you.
Bye. Nice to meet you.